Os, Anime Aniki desu. Yokoso, Okamatachi, Otatomo. Welcome everybody. Sit back, relax, maybe break out your flashcards. I'll be taking a look at a show called To Be an Inshong X, or To Be Hero X. And this is an interesting place to start because by most metrics, I guess really my own, the only ones that matter anyway, this might not even be categorized as an anime. It was created by Chinese studio B Dream, and it seems to be promoted anyway as a co-production between B Dream, Bilibili, and Aniplex. And I think depending on where you look, you might find PB Animation, Land Studio, Paper Plane Animation Studio. They all seem to be involved. There's a lot of hands in the pot, and frankly, the animation kind of feels that way too. But the show seems to be off to a good start though. So after seeing first episode, I figured I'd hop on here and really document myself giving anime a try again. And hell, maybe drop some knowledge in the process. So I used to be a bit of an anime snob. Back before Crunchyroll was a thing, anime was a lot harder to get your hands on. And if you did manage to get your hands on it, it was likely like low res, potato quality, just sort of goofy fan subs. And maybe if you were lucky, you would get some real in-depth translator notes, and you'd probably spend more time reading that than watching the anime. But back then I was way too lazy to read, so I figured I'd learn enough Japanese to be able to just kind of watch and listen. Spoiler alert, you probably want to learn how to read Japanese anyway, at least the basics, to pick up the language as an adult. It really helps with sort of the cultural awareness and sort of faster acquisition as an adult. But don't worry, you can still be very successful with Japanese without ever learning how to read or write the characters. Just use whatever phonetic writing system you have that'll help you capture the sounds you hear, and while it might not be a perfect solution, you'll be fairly surprised how far you can get with just mimicking or parroting what you hear. I mean, if a 5-year-old can do it, right? So as I go through the episodes, I'll just be capturing interesting tidbits, words, phrases, and maybe things that y'all Okama out there are gonna ask me to hit on, and we'll slowly build an anime-based understanding of the Japanese language and culture together. So I'm gonna take a quick look at the synopsis and sort of lay the groundwork for what this show is. So it says, in a world full of brilliant heroes, it's the trust of fans that turns heroes into superheroes. If a hero loses the people's trust, they lose their special abilities. Trust value is collected, quantified, and used to determine a hero's ranking, displayed on their wrist. Every 2 years, the top heroes go to a tournament to fight, determine new trust values, and earn their rankings. Full warning, this is going to be full of spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode, I'm capturing random things as I go through the episode, so if you don't want spoilers, go watch the episode first, or don't. どうでもいいさ。俺はお前の母さんじゃねえよ。まあ、父さんかもしれないけど。So the show introduces this cat named Ling Lin, and this is probably a review for some of y'all, I'm sure, but let's get into it anyway. So Ling Lin is a very obviously Chinese name. You're just gonna have to develop an ear for it, and then maybe one day you can join the rest of us and sort of be weirded out by hearing these names getting dropped in Japanese in anime. So surname Lin, that means forest in Chinese, and it's produced by putting two trees together. So here we've got the character for tree. Two of them dudes is Lin, or Lin, second tone. Again, this is Chinese, not really important, but the names are kind of important. So the given name is Ling, written like this. So Lin, again, is forest. Ling is ice. But it also sort of means like to rise high. So you put these two characters together and you sort of get the connotations of the name sort of meaning like a high rising forest, or like an ice forest, just something kind of cool, I guess. Whatever, that's the dude's name. You can interpret it however you like, and that's sort of the magic of Chinese character-based names. So in Japanese though, this Lin that we saw would be Hayashi, and that is with hiragana like this. For the rest of you guys that don't want to learn how to read hiragana, Hayashi. Hayashi is also forest, but it kind of sort of has the connotations of like a smaller forest. So you could even call it a grove. In Japanese, like if you added another tree to Hayashi, so back to the character, if we just threw another tree up here, then this wouldn't be Hayashi anymore, it would be Mori. which isn't Hayashi, obviously, it's Mori. And that means forest. It's a full-on forest. Complete side note. In the case of Ling, though, we've got the character, minor difference in spelling depending on, you know, how it's rendered in the writing system or print from Japanese versus Chinese. It's basically a stylistic difference, but it's essentially the same. When people scribble anyway, you not even really know the difference. But the Ling in Japanese, nearly the same, minor difference just right there. And this is Ryo in Japanese. So this isn't actually a common Japanese name put together. So full-on Chinese, you're not going to see this very often. I'm sure if you looked hard enough, you'd find it. It's not a very common Japanese name, if it's one at all. You're not going to see Hayashi Ryo put together. It's just a little bit strange. Again, search, you might find it. I doubt it. And for the rest of you that don't want to learn how to read hiragana, Ryo. So Ryo in this case doesn't actually mean ice like it does in Chinese. Ryo means to endure. So an enduring grove or forest. All that to say, this character has a strong name that may already tell us everything we need to know about him, or will at least equip us with the connotations that can leave us pleasantly surprised or disappointing depending on where they take the show. So this bum Ling goes nearly Shinji mode on the rooftop and witnesses this nice dude hit that Jisatsu button for him instead. And there's a good word for you, Jisatsu. So Ji and Satsu. And there's that tree character again. So hiragana, Ji, and Satsu. And for the rest of you, Ji, Satsu. So this Ji character here means self. It's a very common character and you'll see it a lot. And Satsu here means murder or kill. You put those together and you get self-kill or suicide. So homeboy went Jisatsu on the top of the roof. Remember that G character though. It's a pretty important one. At least remember G can mean self. Sound of that, you hear that, you can assume self is probably going to be in there somewhere. But yeah, remember that character, it'll come back. So Nice is out of the picture. Now Ling Ling can pretend to be him and steal his girl. Enter Xiao Yueqing. Another very obviously Chinese name. So Xiao Yueqing, here she is. Xiao Yueqing. And that is, again, Chinese. So don't remember it or do. It doesn't matter. You're going to hear it a lot in the show. So you'll recognize this when you hear it and when you see it. Xiao is, it means like deep, clear water. I don't know if there's an English word for that, but sort of deep, clear water. Yue means moon. And Qing, so Qing sort of has the connotations of nobility or sort of upper class, but honestly, it's just a surname. So you've sort of got this noble sort of moon, deep, clear waters. There's a bunch of cultural subtext here, and essentially what they're getting at with the name anyway is just sort of this pure sort of moon, noble, sort of, you know, feminine figure, I guess. So Lingland now in full-on Mr. Steal Your Girl mode, he can finally have what he's always wanted. So another perfect word to jot down here, Jiko Manzoku. So hiragana for you guys, that's Jiko Manzoku. And then for the rest of you, Jiko Manzoku. So we see that character again. I told you to look out for it. Ji there, meaning self. So really what we have are two sets of kanji compounds. So Jiko actually together still means self. And then Manzoku together means satisfy. If you really wanted to get into the individual characters, Ji means self, Ko means self. Man sort of means like to fill something, or it kind of also means to satisfy, but it's like this fulfillness. And then Zoku, that character is actually the character for foot, but it also means to satisfy. So self, satisfy, satisfy, or full satisfy, right? So together you have self and satisfy, which is self-satisfaction. Or to gratify yourself. So jiko manzoku, self-gratification, self-satisfaction. So homeboy was all about that jiko manzoku, but now that Nice hit that jisatsu button, he can shiko on that Xiaoyechin manko and manzoku himself. No subtitles for you high-speed learners out there.
ではナイスお答えください。シャオユエチンはあなたの恋人か否か。
So they hit our boy with question 2 in this talk show interview. Xiaoyechin wa anata no koibito kai? This is a really common word here. Koibito. Sorry, I don't know how I messed that up. That's the character for heart at the bottom. But koibito together, this character, your hiragana, and bito, sorry. Your romaji, koi, bito. So you've got koi, which means love. And then this character here, you can see it sort of looks like the legs of a human being. This character is the character for person. But it also kind of means adult, depending on the context. In general, it's a person, but adult as well. So you've got love person, the person you love, or your lover. So hito means person, love is the koi character there. Bring them together and you get lover. In this case, the gender is contextual, so he's asking, is Xiaoyechin your lover? Which sort of carries the same contextual weight as boyfriend or girlfriend. Not necessarily someone you're intimate with, just boyfriend, girlfriend. The text on screen, however, is fully simplified Chinese. Don't worry about that garbage, it's not Japanese anyway. As we saw earlier, Xiaoyechin rears its ugly head here. And then we have shi ni de nu peng you ma. This is just Chinese for is she your girlfriend, where the new character is the character for woman. And that's also seen in Japanese. So you've got this, which in Japanese is onna. Sorry. Onna. And so this is typically seen as onna no hito. And there's that hito character again for person that we saw in koibito. So woman, this here, onna, woman, and hito, person. So woman person or female person or female adult, depends on the translation. So now this greasy interviewer asks, is she really your girlfriend? Or is it a sham relationship? Is it a haribote?
その完璧さはハリボテだ。
Harry Potter. Just kidding. Haribote means paper mache, not Harry Potter. And the connotation there and the implication, the meaning really is like paper mache, sort of hollow, sort of superficial, empty inside, a sham, right? So Linglin hits back with, she's not my girlfriend, she is my goddess, because, you know, beta.
シャオユエチンは僕の女神だ。
So by now you're used to hearing her name come up, and so you can kind of intuit the sentence structure in Japanese a little bit. He says, Xiaoyechin wa boku no megami da. So here's megami. And we've seen that character before. So I'm gonna write this out really quick. So megami, hiragana, and for the rest of you. And would you look at that? It's a character we've seen before. It pops up again, onna. And we know that that is woman. The next character is the character for gods or deities, which makes sense because Megami is goddess. So together you have woman, god, deity, or goddess. Which makes sense. So from here though, the episode kind of goes wild, and it's pretty hardcore anime, and our bad guy boss from earlier, that made Linglin kind of want to hit that Jisatsu button, he pulls up again to do bad guy stuff, because I guess bad guys exist in the show. He's using fear energy, so people get power from more than just trust in people, it seems, I guess. And he hits them with his first attack, the Jiabake. Again, this is Chinese over here. It means overtime, work. In Japanese, this would actually be zangyo. So, zangyo here. This is zan. Sorry. For anybody looking at me write this. It means remainder. And gyo here So, gyo. This is the character for business. So, interesting sort of side note. Together, zangyo means overtime work, translated into English, right? But you can see sort of culturally and contextually, remaining business doesn't necessarily directly mean overtime in the way that it would where I'm from, out in the West in the United States. So it's sort of the remaining work of the day, which doesn't really give you the implications of overtime, but more so that this is work that was meant to be done during the day that just has yet to be completed. So this is like regular work that still needs to get done. It's overtime because you weren't able to finish it in the amount of regular working hours, but work culture over there is crazy and people will be doing overtime all the time anyway. So on his belt, you'll see 生意兴隆, which in Chinese means thriving business or thriving and prosperous trade. It's written in a cross, sort of top, bottom, left, right. Again, this is Chinese, but this kind of 4-character idiom is commonly seen in all kinds of Asiatic or Chinese-based languages. I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of flack for saying that. They call them in Japanese, though, yoji jukugo. So, yoji jukugo. And in hiragana, yoji jukugo. Which, for the rest of you, yoji jukugo. Now this one's interesting. Yo here means 4. Ji it means characters, or like words, and that is the character for characters. Now, jukugo is actually a compound kanji, so if you put them together, you get, funny enough, the word for compound kanji. But in context, it means idioms. In context, it means idioms. Now, if you wanted to look at the characters individually, you've got yo for 4, ji for character. Now, juku, it's an interesting one. It actually means mature or like ripe or something like skilled, right? And it gives you this idea, the connotations in the character sort of meaning that these characters are more on the mature side. Go here means language. What the heck? Language. So you've got mature language, mature characters. And that gives you an indication that even the Japanese perceive compound kanji to be a little bit more on the mature, higher educated side. So they're not simple one characters, they are compound characters, mature language, 4-character mature languages, or 4-character idioms. So 生意兴隆 in Japanese would probably be closer to shobai hanjo. So shobai hanjo really quick. Shobai hanjo. Oh, sorry. Hanjo. And your hiragana sho by hanjo. And then your phonetic writing system, whether that's romaji or whatever, you could show by hanjo, as long as you know how to read it. So this is very similar to what we talked about earlier with the yoji jukugo characters themselves. Shobai hanjo, these two together are jukugo. And this combines to mean business. Sorry if I could spell. It means business. And then hanjo is prosperity. So the characters individually, sho is like shops, merchants, business. Bai is to sell. And han actually means sort of luxury or something luxurious. And jo is really what carries the prosperity connotation there. It's the meaning of prosperity, but it's like this luxurious prosperity. So you can see, looking at the business prosperity that we were talking about in Chinese, the translation in Japanese is, like, hey, may you have sort of a luxurious and profitable, highly prosperous business endeavor, lots of selling and things like that. Another option that you might see, senkyaku bandai. So senkyaku bandai is written like this. Senkyaku bandai. And this one's actually pretty easy. So your hiragana, senkyaku bandai, and then your romaji. Sorry, senkyaku bandai. Hopefully that's legible enough. So sen means 1,000. Kyaku means like customer or guest. And we're gonna go with customer for this particular Yoji Jukugo. And bandai, so together, if we look at it as a Jukugo again, we've got many arrivals or many guests. But ban by itself means 10,000. And dai, in this context, we're going to go with like arrivals. But by itself, it could also just sort of mean like to come, to arrive. And so literally you have 1,000 guests, 10,000 arrivals. And this is the idea that we're wishing someone in their business endeavor that they'll have lots and lots of guests, lots of customers, lots of arrivals, as in customers coming and going, 10,000 if that. So, senkyaku bandai, it literally translates to 1,000 customers, 10,000 arrivals, but the idiom being business prosperity. So you may see those both used in Japan. And so finally in the end, we have the most simple and maybe the most important word for the whole show. I mean, it's in the title after all. So he says, Hero ni nareru kanousei wa aru! Hero ni nareru. I'm going to simplify this a bit to the root verb and write hiro ni naru for simplicity. And this is nice because hiro is a loan word. And I'll let you guess from where. So we've got hiro ni naru. And in hiragana, which you would not write this in hiragana, but if you decided to, hiro ni naru, and then your romaji, hiro ni naru. So hiro, I'll let you guess. Hero. And then we're going to ignore this sort of grammar feature here. So ni is a sort of possessive grammar feature. But without that, if we just looked at the meaning of naru, this is the verb to become. So without grammar at all, you can look at the loan word, look at the verb, and figure out that the meaning here is to become a hero, or I will become a hero. There's no I in this sentence, it's sort of implied. It can be interpreted in both ways. So hiro ni naru is to become a hero, as in hiro X ni naru, to be hero X. So there's some easy takeaways, some not so easy takeaways from the first episode. I'm still a little grossed out by the 3D animation being done here, but all that I've seen so far, this is definitely some of the better stuff. And you can tell there's a serious budget at play here. At times it sort of gives Arcane League of Legends animation quality vibes, and at other times you can definitely tell that it's dubbed when the face animations are trash and lazy and the voices don't match. But maybe it would be less egregious if I watched it in Mandarin, but I doubt it. The 2D stuff though, the 2D animation still shines through, and the episode really ended on a high note for me. And honestly, I was a little surprised. So I'll be on episode 2. I'm gonna be checking it out. それじゃあ次までおたとも。
Mason, are you a beta male? Beta. You a beta?